Recently, I was reading a book on pivot tables. The authors of the book suggested a simple method to set the default behavior for pivot table entries containing blanks by setting the pivot table property for empty cells show to 0. While their method works and is relatively easy, there is an alternative way to display zeros instead of blanks. Before showing you both procedures, let's take a minute to look at the issue. When a pivot table is created and the sum or other aggregation function generates a 0 value, Excel replaces the 0 with blanks in those cells. Let's look at an example of a computer retailer. The retailer has a number of stores in a metropolitan area. The retailer's VP for sales constructed a pivot table containing the categories of the products sold and the quantity of each product sold at each store. For example, the Detroit store sold 5 hard drives. Notice that a few of the cells are blank. For example, if we look across the mice row, we see that the Royal Oak store sold no mice. However, Excel placed a blank in the cell instead of a 0. If we want to replace the blank with a 0, there are 2 methods to accomplish this goal. The first method suggested by the authors of the book is 1. Click inside the pivot table. 2. Click the Analyze tab. 3. On the Analyze ribbon on the left side, click Options. 4. On the Pivot Table Options dialog box on the Layout and Format tab, locate the For Empty Cells property. 5. In the text box to the left of the For Empty Cells Show property, click the mouse. 6. In the text box to the left of the For Empty Cells Show property, type a 0. 6. Click the OK button. Notice that the blank cells in the worksheet now contain zeros. Let's look at an alternative way of accomplishing the same goal using a slightly different procedure. Once again, our pivot table has blanks in some of the cells. For example, the cell containing the cells of mice at the Royal Oak store. An alternative method for replacing the blanks with zeros is 1. Click inside the pivot table. 2. Click the Analyze tab. 3. On the Analyze ribbon on the left side, click Options. 4. On the Pivot Table Options dialog box on the Layout and Format tab, locate the For Empty Cells Show property. 5. If the For Empty Cells Show checkbox has a check mark in it, then click the checkbox in order to disable the property. 6. Click the OK button. Once again, Excel has replaced the blank entries with zeros. Now that we've looked at both procedures, one question remains. Which procedure should you use to replace blanks with zeros in your pivot tables? The answer is quite straightforward. Use the one that is most convenient for you. In this short video, you learned how to replace a blank value in a pivot table with a 0. First, you learned how to replace a blank with a 0 by using the Pivot Table Option dialog box to add a 0 to the For Empty Cells Show property. Second, you learned to accomplish the same goal by disabling the For Empty Cells Show property by unchecking its checkbox on the Pivot Table Options dialog box. If you found this video useful, please click the like button. I would appreciate any constructive comments about the video in the comments section below. Until the next video, best wishes.